Okay, last video in this section here, 3 on the keyboard, jump to workflow. So a few kind of global settings that can be useful to help with our materials, make things a bit clearer and easier to see what's happening. Firstly, this one here, it's not in the right place, clean graph. So if we select this, 2 options, clean up, and what that will do will delete anything that's unconnected. So if you've got a material and you want to kind of delete great parts of it all at once, you can just unconnect the end and then clean up, and that will delete everything. Just going to undo that because I want my unconnected nodes here. And also the other option, hide unused connectors. So you can see here we had pins that weren't doing anything. They can be hidden away. If you're inspecting someone else's material or trying to kind of piece together what someone else has done, that can be really nice to keep things clean and simple. It doesn't work as a workflow because now I can't access anything that's new, that's not unconnected, but that's your options with that one. Second option here, or second sort of global thing, is this thing here, hide unrelated. I always have this enabled. What it means is if I select this node, it will highlight or keep sort of fully rendered everything in this chain, but anything else that's unconnected gets ghosted out. And as you're moving around, you can see it kind of connects you nicely to what's being connected. Yeah, this makes it a little bit easier to see what's happening. So I will keep this one on. There is an option in here for lock. If I do a lock node state, now it doesn't matter what I've got selected, it's highlighting this this path. So you can kind of use that as a sort of debugging tool. I will keep that off. And then focus all chain. I don't really know what that does. Focus all nodes in the chain. Yeah, couldn't see any changes or anything for that. So if anyone knows, do let me know. But yeah, I will keep hide unrelated on with both these settings off. Okay, so moving down a few examples in here, also workflow tips. We can preview. So in this case, I've got a preview color here, which is a nice red. I'm multiplying by 0 and plugging into base color, so the preview we're seeing here is fully black because the last thing we're seeing is multiplied by 0. If I right click here, I can go to start previewing node, and now this will, when it compiles, show us the red. So you can show parts of your network as a preview, or kind of like as a sort of isolation before later math kind of like changes things. So very useful for debugging what's happening. I've changed the keyboard shortcuts to this personally into spacebar because I do this all the time. If you want to do the same, if you go to your engine settings, so it's the editor preferences, let's bring that in. Keyboard shortcuts, preview, there we are. That's content browser, preview, assets, start previewing node, material editor. So the spacebar by default is a refresh, which I don't find very useful. It used to be this one, force refresh previews, I think. Much better to have it set to previewing, I think. So that's entirely up to you, but that's why my keyboard shortcut here says spacebar. Very useful to see what's happening as a sort of part-time. Cool. A bit more on neatness. If you have multiple nodes and you want them to be aligned, Shift and then the WASD keys will align the input pins. I'm quite a stickler for making things neat and tidy, as we'll hopefully see in the examples, and this can be very useful, and you can obviously align to whichever direction you want, as so. Moving wires around, so let's say we've got a connection here and we want to move it into the other one. Well, if I control click, I can kind of pick up my wire and then drop it back. And what's nice about this is if I've got, well, it's not that one because it's not going to accept multiple. Some nodes will accept multiple inputs. Is that true, or is that only true in Blueprint? That might not be true. That might just be a Blueprint thing. Well, same workflow in Blueprints, and if you have got multiple inputs to the same pin, it's much easier to pick them up and move them. That isn't true in Materials, is it? either way, being able to pick things up and move them definitely makes things a bit easier in some cases. Last thing for sort of this section, removing wires. If you just alt click, that will delete the wire. You can alt click on this end, I can alt click on that end. Nice way of cleaning up and removing things. And then last two bits, comments. Now each of these materials is going to come nicely commented out, hopefully. If you want to add your own comments, please do. Makes a lot of sense. There are two options. If I just grab a couple of nodes here. Oh, I suppose that's one I should probably have put in here. Control D is duplicate. So C to put comment box around it. Control plus D equals duplicate. Same as everywhere else in Unreal. And that allows us to sort of copy and paste multiple nodes at once. Copy and paste also works. So if I select Control C, Control V, there we are. But C is the comment box, so C adds a comments box around it. You can color code these, you can change the font size, you can do all sorts of stuff if you so wish. You can also add a comment per node. So here, if I just create a new one, one click, it's called a description, material expression description. You can just type in comments. These have a couple of little icons. You can hide them, which isn't very useful because now I don't know where that is, but if you double click it comes back, and you can pin it so that it scales up and down if it's a really important thing. But yeah, individual comments on nodes just in the description or a comment box around it. It is worth making notes to yourself, same as with kind of any kind of programming, which is effectively what we're doing here. Being able to make notes that you can refer back to yourself later or that other people can use really is worth taking the time to be neat and tidy. Same with naming parameters. If you've got parameters, and we'll talk about this a bit more when we do other examples, but anything that's called param 1, param 2, this means nothing. Take the time to write proper names for it, and we'll talk about that a bit more when we get to materials. Okay, so that's a lot of UI and sort of UX, but it is worth sort of knowing and practicing, making sure that you're doing things in a neat and tidy and sort of optimal way. And then in the next section, we're actually going to get into some of the material nodes themselves and see how different material nodes can be added together, surface types, blend modes, all of that kind of stuff, and some more actual kind of meat of the material editor.